a little pop-up. All right, so welcome everyone to our Movement Monday sequence with MS Views and News. My name is Bri Rhea. I'll be teaching the Pilates chair class for today. So welcome back to those of you that have been coming. Welcome to those of you who are new. For today's class, you will need your chair that you're going to be sitting on as well as your pillow. So this is going to be the setup that ideally you should have. I'm just going to tilt this up a little bit more. There we go. All right. And so we're actually going to start sitting on your pillow. So take your seat, take your pillow on your seat, and then sit down onto your pillow. Make sure that your chair isn't too high to where your feet are, ooh, it's going to swivel for me, nice, to where just your toes are on the ground. You want a chair that's high enough to where you can get your feet flat onto the ground, okay? So place your hands onto your hips, and a lot of Pilates is about mindfully moving the body. So we want to think about, okay, like I'm sitting here, I have like a little bit of a wobble thing underneath of me. So we're trying to maintain like that lift of the spine, that strength of the core, and that mindfulness of your body as we move. So with your hands onto your hips, I want you to start to rock your tailbone back behind you, almost like you're trying to pop the ribs out in front of you. And then as you exhale, try to roll the tailbone forward like you're scooping it underneath of you. So then continue there. Inhale forward and exhale back. And so we have our hands onto our hips here as you continue moving back and forth to kind of feel the hip points. Okay, so these are called your ASIS. It stands for a very long, like somewhat complicated sounding name called the anterior superior iliac spine. And all that means is just like the front top hip points. Okay, so we're trying to figure out how, like, if we had two headlights or two flashlights on those hip points, how the flashlights will point down as you move your body forward, and then the hip points will kind of tilt up as you move your pelvis back. Okay, so as you're going forward and back, I want you to then start to like minimize the movement. So now you're just like barely weeble wobbling front and back. Okay, until finally you find that Goldilocks position right between the two. And that's our neutral pelvis, our neutral spine position. So once you found it, then it should feel like your hip points are straight forward out in front of you. So if you were a car, you'd be staying in your lane. So now taking the hips down to the right and then to the left. So here's what it looks like from the front. Feet are still flat, and you get a little bit of a hip hike on one side and then the other. So maybe if you had like one butt cheek off of the chair, you're kind of like sinking it off to the edge of the chair as you're lifting one butt cheek off of the chair. Okay. But again, this pillow, what it gives us is that sort of unstable or squishy sort of support underneath of us so that we can give ourselves that little bit of pressure and lift off away from that chair. So the spine, the pelvis, they all move in these directions. They're meant to move in these directions. But as you're moving, we want to be mindful of maintaining either the stability or sometimes the mobility of the spine and the pelvis. Okay, so now from here, we're going to start with our rotations. So now it's going to be where we stabilize through the upper body and try to like twist and rotate through the lower body. So now what you're going to feel, or even if you look down at your knees, try to look and see how one knee moves forward or past the other knee, and then the other knee moves back as the opposite knee moves forward. So this is where we have the pelvis sort of rotating around like you're twisting off a jar lid, and then rotating around. So now it might be a little more difficult if you have like a pillow on a more like sticky surface, like a fabric kind of chair. It might be a little easier if you have it on a swivel chair. But what this again teaches the body is that we are able to rotate the pelvis. Okay, so this is very similar to like when we're walking, you will kind of lead with one hip and then lead with the other. Okay, alrighty. So now keep your hands onto your hips, and we're going to move our hips around in a circle. So we're going to move around in one direction. And as you're doing this, notice what happens to the spine. You'll kind of feel yourself rounding back opening to the side. Your other hip will lift up, and then you'll round forward, both hips come down, one hip comes up as you rotate to the right. So we're adding all of those movements now into one sequence, okay? So a lot of the movements that we're going to be doing today are stackable. Okay, it's like one of those like action figures where you can like add a shield or then add a sword. So we're teaching the body not only how to do the foundational movements that it should be able to do or is able to do. Go ahead and switch directions, but then making it more complicated. So then we start to challenge not just the muscles or the bones or the joints, then we start to challenge the brain, the body, and all of the pieces of the two. Okay. Go ahead and take your hands up, and now try to like imagine you're sitting in a pot, like your butt is in the pot and you're stirring the pot up with your body. So you're trying to scrape the edges around with maybe your hands and your arms or your waistline and your rib cage, so that as you're rolling around, keeping those feet flat, being very mindful of that. Yeah, and it should feel pretty good, almost like a little bit of like a slow motion, like belly dancer, but I'm feeling like a really good stretch happening on the side bodies, the back body, and the front body. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so now leave the arms up in front of you. Find your flashlights, your car headlights pointing straight forward, your hip bones, or maybe if you're wearing like a belt buckle, shine that forward. With your arms out in front of you, I want you to take one arm up as the other arm goes down. Okay, and keep a slight bend into the elbows there, because sometimes if we like reach the arm all the way up, the shoulder comes with it. So just that slight bend of the elbow as we alternate the arms here. And so while you're doing this, notice that what the body probably wants to do is a little bit of this. Like that's called extension and flexion. Right now, we're keeping our neutral spine. Okay, everything's staying stacked, square, tall, strong, whatever adjective comes to mind of us staying in one position from head to tail as just the arms move up and down. Great job, you guys. Okay, so now with the right arm maintaining its upward position, the left arm staying down onto the lap. Now I want you to like reach the right arm up overhead and take that full side body stretch. Your left arm can just rest onto the lap, and then inhale back up. As you exhale, like you're trying to sideways dive down into a pool, and then lift back up. Use the breath here to your advantage. As you exhale, feel how that stretches open the rib cage, and inhale back up. One more time, exhaling over to the left side with that right arm, and then switch the arm. So now right arm goes down, left arm comes up. Let that right hand just rest onto the lap. Make sure that the shoulder isn't like an earring, so keep it down away from the ear. Take an inhale, lift taller, 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 and then exhale. Good job. As you reach over towards the right side, inhale, lift, and exhale. You can kind of press your right hand into the thighs there, making sure those feet stay squared up, strong, and pressing down into the ground. One more time. Awesome. Okay, good. Now place both hands down onto your lap, and welcome for those of you who have just joined us. We're sitting on our pillow to begin. Okay, so again, now looking down at your feet, making sure that they are hip distance apart. So if you look straight forward at your knees, you're gonna see the big toes and the first and second toes kind of split right where the kneecap is. So that kind of tells us where our hip distance is. We're not all the way out here, we're not all the way in here, we're here, we're here. Okay, so hip distance, strong and stable. Now, and this is going to be a very subtle movement, but as you exhale, try to squeeze the glutes and feel yourself sort of lift up off of your chair. Okay, and it's very like, I don't know, it kind of feels like the two sits bones. If we were sitting on something hard, it's like the two sits bones are kind of coming together and up inside of you. Okay, so really just like squeeze the butt as hard as you can. That's it. So as that's happening, now let's try to review what the core muscles do. So the powerhouse muscles. So we're going to be here for a little bit. The glutes are a very strong group of muscles, but they're lazy. So with all of like the sitting that most of us do during the day, when you sit on them, they kind of start to turn off. But this can help. Like if you're sitting, like try to just like squeeze your glute as hard as you can, and that'll turn them on. So we're going to be here for a little bit as I explain what we're trying to accomplish through the core. So at the top of your core, right at the base of your rib cage, you have your diaphragm. So go ahead and put your hands onto your ribs on the outside. And as you exhale, try to feel how the ribs pull together. And as you inhale, notice how the ribs move apart. Exhale, squeeze the butt, close the ribs. And inhale, undo that rib wrap as well as soften down into your pillow. Exhale again. So we're still just using that breath to pull that rib cage together. So now try to incorporate that each time you now lift yourself or squeeze the butt together to lift away from that pillow. Now put your hands onto the belly, kind of right where the thumbs are is where your belly button is going to be. And then just let the fingertips kind of splay down towards the groin. Okay, so now let's pause right here and take a big inhale and just notice how your belly balloons forward. Exhale, pull the belly in, away from your hands, like it doesn't want it to touch the belly. Inhale again, push the belly into the hands. And then as you exhale, pull the belly in towards or away from the hands. Okay, and then continue with that same engagement. Now squeezing the glutes and feeling yourself lift as you pull the navel towards the spine. So we just need to make sure that everybody is muted during this class. Thank you. Okay, so now the last and final part, there's two more pieces, but you can place your hands down into the lap or by your side. But what's helping you to stay up tall is a set of muscles called the multifidus, and they are literally like little muscles that climb up your spine. So now you can place your hand onto your head, and each time you squeeze the glutes, feel like your head or your neck is getting longer as your head pushes into your hands. And so it's not just the butt that's lifting you up, but it's like all of those tiny muscles along the spine. Lower down, inhale, relax. Exhale, try to hold the hand above the head, and can you lift up towards it? Okay, can you touch the hand? So there's just a little bit of space when you inhale, when you lower down, and then when you exhale, lift yourself up towards that hand. Okay, so this is just, we're still warming up. We're still just becoming more mindful of how the body can like literally elongate the spine. Okay, so you can place your hand down now back by your side or onto your lap. And now the final and probably the most important, in my opinion, part of the core is what you've probably been engaging a little bit already when you squeeze the butt, and that's your pelvic floor. So most of it, about 2/3 of the musculature that sits in the pelvic basin is the pelvic floor. So we want to think about more of like lifting your butthole up and inside of you. So when you squeeze the glutes, feel the sits bones coming together and pulling upward and inward. Okay, you might even place the hands onto the inside of your thighs and feel like you're not going to try to like squeeze your legs together, but just keep that pressure there to where you feel like inner thighs activating, pelvic floor lifting, and you'll feel that lower abdominal almost like there's a belt kind of getting tighter and tighter and tighter around that lower waistline. Okay, then inhale, relax. So then as you're continuing with that like pressure out of the hands, the inward pressure of your legs, the lift of your pelvic floor, the wrap of your waistline, the lift of your spine, the wrap of your ribs. I know it's a lot to think about as you're squeezing your glutes. Lower back down, inhale. Let's just do a couple more of those. It's literally like patting your head, rubbing your belly, chewing gum, walking and talking all at the same time. And maybe like a little bit more. You're trying to throw a ball as well. Okay. But again, this is why we have why Pilates is so important for like mindful movement and being aware of your body as you're moving. Okay, so we're going to stay onto our pillow. Feet are going to stay flat and reach the arms out in front of you and push the hands in towards each other. Okay, so it's very similar to like praying, but your prayer is out in front of you. Okay, so here's what it looks like from the side. As you exhale, I want you to slide your right hand up the left arm and rotate back behind you. So now your right arm is going to rotate and reach behind you. Then bend the elbow, slide the hand across the chest, reach and slide it back towards the left arm, and try to now slide your left arm back behind you, rotating, reaching into that rotation. Of course, you're rotating into the rotation, duh. Okay, but now this is where we now want to stabilize through the pelvis. So now continue alternating from one side to the next. How do you know if you're stabilizing through the pelvis? Just peek down at the knees, like, so you don't have to like tilt the head, because that kind of like brings our spine out of alignment, but instead just look down your nose at your knees, and we want to make sure that we're not pulling one knee back and one knee forward. Instead, whichever direction you're rotating towards, that knee stays where it is. So if I'm rotating to the right, my right knee does not come back with me. As you're continuing, let's do one more right and then one more left. And then reach both arms back forward. Now, keeping them forward, we're going to go for some windmills. So from here, still maintaining that neutral spine position, reach the right arm up. It's very similar to a backstroke, and we end in that same rotation. Okay, then you reach that right arm up, bring it forward, and then switch. Left arm reaches up and comes back behind you. As you're continuing to not only maintain awareness of the position of the hips, the legs, you're also still aware of the pelvic floor, your transverse abdominis, which pulls the navel in towards the spine away from your waistband, the wrap of the ribs, which is your diaphragm. Now, on the next two, I want you to see how far down your right hand can go behind you. So it looks like this. We're going to go up, back, behind. Maybe you bring it down by your hip. Then swing it back up with control, reaching forward, 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 stop. Left arm goes down. Ooh, and this side feels tighter for me. So this is where we get to notice one side feeling different than the other. Okay. So we're sitting on this pillow to help us maintain that stability. It just adds another layer of challenge. One more time on that left arm. How far back and how far down can you bring it? And reach forward. Both arms stay forward. You don't have to clap the hands together. Instead, just leave them out about hip distance apart as well. And then start to roll down. Maybe your hands touch your shins and you try to roll down for your toes. Take a moment to inhale at the bottom. And then as you exhale, roll yourself up at the top, getting a nice little stretch through the spine. And so when you do stack the spine tall, just take a couple of cleansing breaths there, in through the nose, out through the mouth. 3 more of those. Maybe notice if your shoulders are rising on your inhale, or if we can get that diaphragmatic breathing to expand the ribs forward and out to the sides. 2 more breaths, in, out through the mouth. 1 more inhale, in. Alrighty. So now we're going to keep the feet wide. So step them out to the side, so then you can just like pop the hips up real quick, take your pillow out. And sorry, I just said we're going to keep our feet wide. So keeping the feet wide. And if you can see your camera reflection, if your camera is on, what we're trying to be aware of is the fact that your knees and your feet are in line with each other. Okay. So in that wide leg position, like you might start to feel that pretty strong, like inner thigh stretch, and maybe even already starting to feel that glute in the back turning on. So you're going to take that pillow now between your hands, and elbows not up high, so your shoulders aren't up by the ears, but a high enough elbow position. So now you're going to squeeze that pillow between your hands like you're trying to clap your hands together, and then inhale, open. While you're squeezing, exhaling, remember you're still trying to lift that pelvic floor, wrap the ribs, wrap the belly, and continue with that movement, okay? So now we start to get into the stackable positions. Let's be aware though that your knees are not going to cave forward. You're actually really strongly pressing them out. So if I was there with you, I would be right behind you trying to push your knee in, and you wouldn't let that happen. So now hold that squeeze on your next exhale. Rotate towards the right or left, and then you come back center on your inhale and unsqueeze. So this all happened on your exhale. Exhale, squeeze and twist to the left. Inhale, center, unsqueeze. Repeat. Exhale, squeeze and twist. Inhale, center, and repeat. Continue alternating from one side to the next. And now being mindful, I see some of us kind of like leaning to one side as you rotate. So be aware that like our spine is like the pole of a carousel in the middle of the carousel. So if our carousel was kind of like going around here, that'd be a really scary ride to put your kids on. So we want to stay upright and tall as you rotate, because we're proud to move our body. This is medicine for your body. One more time to the right. And now as you exhale to the left, hold, just breathe normally here, and then reach that pillow out and in, out and in. Maybe exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, or maybe you exhale, pull in, whichever feels comfortable for you. But now check in with that right leg, the leg you are not twisted towards. Has that leg started to cave in towards you? Pull it out and away. 3, 2, hold those arms long out in front of you, then rotate all the way around to the right side. Pull in, pull out, pull in, pull out. Okay, so we work the spine in all 4 directions that it's able to move. In this case, it's rotation. Every time maybe you're driving or you're in a chair and you have to reach back behind you for something, you have to rotate that spine. And when you reach, you have to lengthen your arms. So this is just training those different patterns that we put ourselves into. 2 more times, 2 and 1. Okay, bring that pillow back center, drop it down between your legs, walk your feet together, and now squeeze that pillow between your legs. Okay, my little sunflower doesn't look like a sunflower anymore. All right, so just rest the hands where they feel comfortable. Maybe you gotta like hold under the chair, hold onto the arms of your chair, or just rest your hands onto the pillow. Squeezing in on that pillow as you exhale, and then inhale, release. Continue there, exhale, squeeze, and release. And we wanna make sure that the feet are like closer together than your hip distance apart. So we're not out here and like squeezing the knees in. Okay, we want to always make sure that the setup of the position that we're working in is in the proper position. Okay, so imagine if you're trying to reach for something and you're already here to start and you're reaching down, that's where you can like pull a back muscle or hurt your shoulder if you're reaching down and kind of like twisting your arm into something. We want to always be aware of like how our posture is as we sit, as we stand, as we move throughout our day. And this is where we can train that. Okay, so now hold that squeeze of your pillow, and with your feet flat, lift the heels. So now working into the calves, lower and lift those heels. And sometimes like there's not a lot of resistance that you might feel happening, so create it with your own mind. I want you to try to lift the heels up and imagine that you're pushing up against something. If you're still like, I don't feel it, this isn't challenging, then push your hands, lean forward into your heels, and create that weight that you're now pushing against. Okay, so it'll look like this from the side. It'll move the body back and forth. Okay, and so some awareness to be mindful of is that your toes are spread wide. Okay, that you are lifting up on all 10 of the toes instead of just the pinky toe or just the big toe. You'll notice a difference between the weight distribution between the toe. Usually the bigger the toe or the longer the toe, the more weight you're going to put in it. So therefore, pinky toe might only have like 5% of your weight. Big toe might have like 70% of your weight. All right, so now from there, leave your heels lifted. Lift yourself back up with the arms forward. You're still squeezing pretty strongly through that pillow. And now as your arms lift up, exhale. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, lift, and try to really like squeeze the glutes again. Try to lift away from your chair, and then inhale, lower down. As you are lifting, your arms might not be able to go up overhead like mine are. Mine, I don't even think mine are going all the way up overhead. Yeah, they're like slightly in front of my eyes. But that's just because I'm getting a little bit of pinch in my shoulders, and I know not to go any further than that. So everybody's body is different. Yours might look different than mine. Now, as your arms stay lifted, we're still on the toes, we're still squeezing that pillow, the arms are going to stay tall. Now we rotate again. We add the rotation, the stackable movement here. As you twist center, inhale. As you rotate to the right or left, exhale. Whew, and this is where you notice if one side feels a little tighter than the other. And for me, this right side is feeling like there's just, I don't know, there's just something sticky and it's holding me back. That's it. So if holding the arms up overhead doesn't feel comfortable at all, then bring the arms across the chest and continue there. Let's do 3 more each side. Last 2 each side. Yeah, so notice these are not big movements. And this is because if we were moving faster, these are big movements, they're just not fast movements. If we were moving faster than this, take a rest after that last and final one. Lower the heels, maybe take that pillow out. Just rest it onto your thighs and give yourself a couple of cow and cat spines. Okay, rounding through. Yeah, even resting the belly onto the pillow and kind of rounding through there and just resting. But if we were to move fast or quickly through any of these poses or exercises, then you might not notice if like, right to left side, I don't feel a difference. Like, of course you don't, because you're moving too fast. You can't connect really to the movement. So that's why, again, the mindful movement is going to be a lot slower than what you may be used to. And this is why it's perfect for everybody. All right, so now that pillow is going to stay on top of your thighs. Press the hands or like keep the elbows by your side so you can press the hands into the pillow. And so now this is going to feel like you're working the back of the arms here. So with the hands flat like flippers, you're going to exhale and press into your pillow so your arms go long. Inhale, bend the elbows so that they bend back by the side. Exhale, press. Inhale, bend. Exhale, press. Inhale, bend. So as you're continuing with those movements, again, the goal here is to make sure that you're not like moving the body forward or back, that you're not overcompensating with other pieces of the body working with us, but instead the arms get to move or mobilize while the core gets to stabilize, okay, and keep the spine still. Stable, still. Stable, strong. You got your STs working together as a party. Alrighty, so the next step, you're going to keep your right hand flat onto the pillow. If you want to walk it towards the middle, that would be great. Then lift your left arm up. Keep that right arm strong and long as your left arm thumb is up. And now as you rotate, just like we did at the beginning of our warm-up there, rotate that left arm. How far back can you push it behind you as you continue pushing into your right arm? Just the left arm reaches forward, just the left arm reaches back. We're not going to alternate here on this one. So keep that strength through the right side until we get that like super tired muscle right to that burnout piece, okay? So if you get tired as we're moving here, please make sure you're listening to your body. Take rests, drink your water as you need, but really feeling the connection that the more you reach back behind you with your left arm, the more you press heavy through the right arm. And what this does is it targets the internal and external obliques. They literally cross the body like an X. So right now, we're really activating through right side external obliques, so rib to hip, right to left, and then left internal obliques. Now, try to hold that left arm back behind you, and then as you exhale, you'll bend your right elbow, reach the left arm up overhead, and go down, reaching for the toes over that pillow. Come back up the same way you came. Lift the arm up, you rotate, look towards the left, and reach back behind you. Okay, so maybe as that arm is reaching up, you get to test your deodorant, make sure it's still working for you towards the end of the day. Lower your arm down, reach, and then press up like you're doing a one-arm push-up with that right arm, reaching that left arm back behind you. If you have the range of motion, lower it down by your hip. And then do 2 more there. This is really just for that shoulder mobility as well as opening up through that left side of the body. Behind you. Okay, do 1 more. And then we'll switch sides. Okay, so then after you come down all the way, stack the spine tall. and your left hand is going to go right onto the middle of the pillow. Start with the elbow bent so you can kind of like maybe give that arm a little break, and then get right into it where that left arm is long. So maybe even like with your right arm, reach for the back of your arm and see if you can feel the tonality of your arm. If you can't quite feel it, try to press and reach that arm a little bit longer, and then check again. See if that made any difference. So with that right arm forward, rotate back behind you, just reach out to the side, your Vanna White on Wheel of Fortune here, okay? So show off those letters. What is the prize that people are gonna get? You know, what's behind curtain number 3? Inhale forward, exhale back, and feel that the more you reach back, the more you have to press into that left hand. 2 more. And final one, leave the right arm behind you, reach it up and overhead, bending into that left arm, letting it sink down, or letting your right arm sink down. Sorry, rights and lefts are hard today. Then press into the left arm, reach the right arm back behind you. Maybe it goes down to the hip, and then open it out, up, in front, and down towards the toes. Continue there. 2 more, 4 total. Good. And notice where the ease of the breath is during these motions. 2. For me, the inhale comes easiest when I expand, when I open everything up, and it comes easily when I exhale, when I close everything out. Good. And now lift yourself back up, place both hands back onto your pillow. Alrighty, so now you're going to drop the pillow down. You can put it on the ground first, but it's basically going between the ankles. Okay. So once it's there between the ankles, you might have to pick it up off the ground to get it there. But now still with that like inner thigh engagement, but now it's just between the ankles. So this is where it gets a little tricky. Most of the time I see people do this when they're squeezing through the ankles. We want to keep those knees apart and squeeze the ankles together, okay? So you can still get a lot of that inner thigh engagement without knocking the knees together. And if you can't quite feel that yet, just walk the feet closer together and then just try holding that squeeze of the pillow, okay? Otherwise, if you can get that squeeze without knocking the knees together, take that inhale to relax and that exhale to squeeze, okay? Got about 5 more there. And if you're watching this recording, sometimes like, or most of the time, the rep counts that we do are anywhere between like 8 to 15. If you tire out easily, go for your 8. If you're looking for more strength, more endurance, try to get like, repeat this, this workout. So to see if you can like beat your score. Can you beat the last number of reps that you did? Now hold your squeeze. Sorry if that was a little bit more than what I said. Hold your squeeze and lift the heels up and down again. So really focusing on adductor inner thigh strength. Okay, it's like you're trying to add the legs together. But now into the calves as well. So if you still don't feel the calves working, lean forward into your knees and just press down onto the knees so you've got that oppositional energy working for you here. And then it also depends on like, you know, the certain muscle groups that we work, like the calves, for example, they are like really endurance muscle groups. So they can probably go for longer. You'll notice that maybe like 12 to 15, if that feels easy for you, then keep going. You still want to maintain or even build your strength here. Okay, so then lower the heels down, reach down for your pillow. And this is where we're going to take it to the side of the body. So make sure that the pillow is on its side. And so it's further out away from the body. If that feels like too much, just bring it in close to the body. Otherwise, it's on its side, parallel to the ground, and then really try to reach that right arm over the pillow so you can like squeeze it now between arm and side body, okay? So now being very mindful of how the spine is positioned. Remember, pelvis is neutral. Those hip points are pointing forward. You're staying in your lane. Feet are flat, hip distance apart. Now try to imagine that that pillow is still there between your knees, between your ankles. And as you exhale, squeeze the right arm into the side. Inhale, release. Exhale, continue with that squeeze and release. But now as this is happening, I want you to be aware of like the possibility that your spine might want to do a little bit of this. Okay, we don't want this to happen. Okay, so we're mobilizing the shoulder just a little bit with that resistance of our pillow while stabilizing through your left side obliques. So you can put your left hand on your waistline and you'll probably feel the obliques turning on that left side. Okay, and you can, like, when you're palpating yourself, that sounds very like medical, but when you're feeling out the muscles on your side of the body, like it just feels like there's something like turning on, engaging, contracting. Now hold that squeeze and we lift the left arm up. If you need to, stack or bend the elbow just a little bit. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, bring the hand across the chest. Okay. So now side bend towards the right. Keep squeezing in against your pillow and then lift back up. Lower the arm down. Exhale, up and over. As you reach your right arm down, left arm up, and then start again. Good. We'll go for about 5 more of those. Now feeling how that stretches out the left side of the body, but make sure that the left butt cheek stays anchored onto your chair. Good. 4 more. Don't forget to keep squeezing that pillow. If it was a water balloon, you're trying to pop all that water out of it. If it was a balloon, try to pop it. 3. Ooh, feeling the left foot kind of lift up. Be mindful of that. 2. Now hold your side bend if this is feeling okay for you. As you hold that side bend, then rotate down and put your left hand to the outside of your right leg and just hold that twist. As you're holding that rotation, press into the leg as your leg pushes out into the arm. Okay. Then we're going to come back up the way we came, lift the left arm, stack the spine. Great job. And then we come over to the other side. So squeeze that pillow between the left arm and the left waist side. So maybe like kind of get it up in there between the armpit. There we go. So now as you exhale, squeeze the arm. We're just starting from the top again, being very mindful that the spine kind of wants to move with that squeeze. We're not going to let it. So put your hand onto the right waistline and feel that each time you squeeze on the left side, you feel that right side turning on. Okay. If you don't, try to focus on that pelvic floor, lifting up and in, that transverse abdominis, pulling the belly button away from your waistline, that pelvic floor pulling up and in off of your chair. Maybe if you were like riding a horse, you would be like patting its butt with your hand, telling it to go a little faster. Maybe it's like slow motion. Okay, so now hold that squeeze, reach the right arm up overhead, keep that slight bend into the arm, keep squeezing the pillow as you reach up and over to the left, keeping your right foot, right butt onto the floor and chair. Inhale, lift up, place the arm down. Exhale, up and over, and come back down. Remember, if it doesn't feel good, you can do the same side bend with your arm across the chest. Okay, and so we're opening up that external oblique, that transverse abdominis side of the body. Oh, feels so good. Got about 4 more. And so another thing that you might hear me say during these classes is that we strengthen one side, we lengthen the other. So can you feel, notice how you feel. 2 more. Left side is strengthening as you squeeze that pillow, and the right side is lengthening. 1 more, we hold the side bend and then rotate that right arm. Press it heavy as you can into the left knee, but don't move the knee. So you got to push the knee out into the hand. Look down towards the left hand, towards the ground, and can you slide your right hand just a little further down towards the shin or the calf? So that's a nice stretch there now for the back body on the side. Come up the way we came, reach the right arm up overhead, stack the spine tall. Very nice. Okay, put that pillow down in front of the belly there and really try to like get it up into the belly if you can. So like again, it just depends on your pillow, but like try to make it as like poofy as you can. So then as you lift, inhale, try to go over that pillow before you completely collapse on it. Reach the arms down for the toes and just stay right there. Give your head a little nod or shake from side to side. And when you're ready, slowly roll yourself up, nice and tall. Awesome. All right. So this next little bit here, the pillow is going to go behind you. Okay. So if you have a back of your chair, put it between your back and the back of your chair. What I'm going to demo here is I'm going to scoot my chair up against a wall. So if your chair doesn't have a back like mine doesn't, then you just scooch up against a wall or something that's flat behind you. Okay. All righty. So now this is another sense of instability here with your body. Okay, so we don't want to be sitting on the pillow, but we want it to kind of give the low to mid back the sense of support that it deserves. Okay, so now bring your hands, this time one to your bottom rib cage and the other down to the lower part of your belly. If your thumb is on the belly button, the fingers are going down towards the groin. Breathe into both of those hands. So both of the hands move forward at the same rate and they pull back in at the same rate. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And repeat that 4 more times. And try to feel that as you're doing this breath here, we have to lift taller to get a bigger breath in. So lift, inhale. Exhale, can you keep that length as you sort of like push into the pillow a little bit more? Notice how the feet get a little heavier when that happens. 2 more. Now you're going to remove the hands on the next exhale. Okay, place the hands down by your side. Palms are back, thumbs are in. And it's okay if your arms kind of graze or press into the pillow. That just gives you more resistance. But can you move your hands back behind you? If you have a wall behind you like I do, press your hands into the wall and feel how that opens up the chest. And then inhale the arms forward, right to about knee or mid-thigh. Exhale, press back. If you don't have a wall behind you, imagine you do. Smack your hands onto the wall. Lift the chest, open through the neck, and then reach forward. Inhale. Continue pressing heavy into the feet. 6 more. Exhale, press back. 5. This is called chest expansion. So as we're doing this chest expansion, we're going to think of widening through the collarbones. Your palms stay back behind you so we can keep that, again, stability and mobility simultaneously through the shoulders. And I want you to envision 4 more, that when your arms are going back, your shoulder blades, like they're literally, they look like my hands right here. When you move the arms back, the shoulder blades will kind of slide towards each other like 2 subway doors. 2. Now hold the arms back behind you. Last 1. Keep the right arm behind you now as you reach the left arm forward without rotating the body. Your left arm presses back, your right arm reaches forward. Now continue alternating. So as the one arm goes back, the opposite arm comes forward. Good. And then I want you to rotate. So now as the one arm comes up, turn away from it or turn towards the arm that's going back behind you and continue twisting. Okay. But notice how when you're twisting, it's a lot of the upper back, the upper part of your spine. So it's your little bit of thoracic, where your chest is, and a lot of that cervical spine. So just be mindful of your limits, of your posture, of your awareness. And as you move from one side to the next, exhale, twist. Be mindful of your legs. Make sure they're not twisting with you. 1 more each side. Last and final 1. Great. Okay, so you stay where you're at. I'm just going to show you what this looks like from the side. You're going to have to scoot your butt forward towards the fronter part of your chair and then roll yourself back towards your chair. or towards your pillow. So this is called a C-curve position. So if you started tall and then it's like I'm trying to poke you in the belly and you're trying to pull your belly button away from my finger. Okay. So you've created a C curve through the spine. You can see it right there from the side of my spine there. Feet are still heavy. And if anything, like I feel my feet are trying to like push away from me. Okay. So they're not actually going to move, but that's the energy that you want going down into the ground. So in that C curve position is where we're going to hold. Okay. So that just creates a lot more engagement through like the entire front side of the core. So that lower abdominal space, reaching those arms forward. And if that feels uncomfortable for the shoulders or a little too challenging here, you can place the hands onto or under the chair. Okay, so from here, walk the feet closer towards each other for just that stability again. And now try lifting one leg up and then lower it down. Lift the other leg up and lower back down. Now, if you need to, or if you're unsure of like, if are my hips tilting or not, just bring your hands to the hips. But that's what I want you to be mindful of. When your left or right leg lifts, you kind of, what wants to happen is you kind of drop towards that side. We don't want that to happen. Okay. So this is helping to strengthen the hip flexors of the body. But the hip flexors are not just the actual muscle called the hip flexors, but it's also like the psoas, the iliacus muscle, the hip flexor itself, like sorry, a little bit of like quads as well. Okay. So it's the hip flexor group of muscles are working together. So now can you lift one leg? Let's whatever leg you're on, hold that leg lifted and now rotate your body towards it. Come back through center, place that leg down, and then lift the other leg as you rotate towards it. Now, it's okay if the leg does not lift. What you can do is heel lift and twist. Okay, then lower that foot down, heel lift and twist. Okay, so even though it looks like, okay, well, if she's just lifting her heel, is that still working the hip flexor? Yes, because that hip is flexing, it's closing. You're still getting that little bit of activation. Okay, so we're at, no matter where you're at, let's do about at least 2 more each side. So remember which side you started at, and then start from there. So 1 and 1, 2 and 2. Now we start again. Hold your twist, hold your leg lift. Good. And now from there, can you straighten that leg out? Yeah, try to touch your screen in front of you. Lower the leg back down, center, lift and stretch. And then you lower back down. If you're just doing those heel lifts, you're going to stretch that leg, slide it on the ground, pull it back in, come center, and then repeat that on the other side. Heel lift, heel slide, or sorry, toe slide, and then come back center. Okay? Kick some mud that's stuck between your toes out away from you. Rotate, twist, reach, and keep repeating that. 2 more each side. Last one each side. And if my breath sounds obnoxious, it's because it kind of is. Like that deeper the exhale you do with your body, the more powerhouse control you will get. All right, come on up to stack the spine tall. Bring your hands towards your hips. Inhale, your gaze upward and your chest forward. Exhale, round through the spine into your cat spine. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Awesome. Yeah, and always use the breath to kind of guide you through these motions. So I know we don't really do music with the class, but of course, if you wanted to put on music, that would be great. But use your breath as like the music that sets the rhythm for yourself. All right, so now legs are going to go out wide. You still have that pillow back behind us. We're back up to sit tall. So you scooch the butt backwards, smush the pillow between your back and the back of your chair. And stay wide with the feet. So get them as wide as you can. Even if you need to like, lift that leg up, get it wider, lift that leg up, get it wider. So now this is going to work more of the back side to strengthen, the front side to lengthen. Remember, always strengthening one side, lengthening the other. From here, hold the hands down onto the front part of your chair, and then it's a tiny movement. You might be able to see it in my camera there, but all that's happening is I'm allowing the knees to soften, and then I'm right back into that engagement, pulling the knees out. So it's a tiny movement, a quick one, okay? So pulsing, 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 pulsing. We're going to be here until you get tired. So be mindful of your body. Notice how we kind of lift as you exhale because the muscles underneath of us are engaging. As you're feeling that engagement, feel the stretch in the front. Okay, you can even just like push your hands onto the thighs and kind of feel like how if you wanted to give yourself some resistance, almost like the hands are trying to smush in towards each other. So your knees are pushing out against them. Ooh, okay, I'm starting to get tired. Let's go for just 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Walk the feet back together and all the way together. So the thighs are touching, still smushing that pillow back behind us, lifting up tall. You're going to lift the heels and walk the toes away from each other. So this is called a Pilates V position. So your knees will open and only let them open about shoulder distance apart. So you're in like a little diamond shape there. Okay. And so in this external rotated position, still working the glutes, but now with the heels connected, like you got a $100 bill, lower the heels, but don't drop that $100. Lift the heels. As you continue lowering and lifting, just strengthening the muscles of the feet, the inner thighs, the glutes, all of that lower body work being done here. Let's stack the movement here. And each time that, go ahead and reach the arms out in front of you. And now each time the heels lift, the arms lift just a little bit. And feel that when the arms lift, you want to feel the shoulders go down the back. That downward spiral of the shoulders kind of dipping into your back pockets. Yeah, Pilates was inspired by also, since he worked with a lot of ballet and just dancers, it was inspired by a lot of that movement. Okay. Alrighty, let's go ahead and start our cool down here. So then as you place the pillow, I want you to place it first off to your left side. I'm just going to turn to my right here. And when that pillow is off to your left side, I want you to scoot your butt towards the left side of your chair. So that pillow is going to act as a cushion for you to place your left knee onto. And if, again, your chair is a little higher, what you can do is maybe stack some books or even a yoga block to bring the pillow up higher to you. So that your goal is to just allow the knee and the shin to rest heavy into that pillow, okay? So if you look at me from the side, this is just like a lunge position, okay? So I want you to have your toes on the back foot untucked, relaxed. The top of your foot and your toenails are onto the ground, and reach the left arm up overhead. Try to feel like how your left butt cheek is really engaged here. Maybe even bring your right hand to cup the butt and make sure that it's there, turned on. And then lean over towards the right side. Inhale, lift back up. And I'll show you now how to make this stretch more intense. If you don't feel anything going on through the front of the left hip, then I want you to scoot your hips forward towards the front edge of your chair, okay? Keep the toenails, the shin, the knee heavily pressing into your pillow as you reach your left arm up. Inhale. As you exhale, lean more towards the right and keep the foot, the shin, everything on that left side actively reaching in the opposite direction, downward. One more. Inhale. And then as you exhale, come up and over. Keep that left butt cheek turned on. Oh, that feels so good. Awesome. Okay, so we just opened up that front part of your hip. Now let's open up that back part. So you can leave the pillow where it is. I'm going to show you from like a pseudo side position. So now that left leg is going to come up and around towards the right thigh into our piriformis stretch, our little figure 4 stretch. While you're here, you can grab onto that ankle or foot with your right hand and with your left knee pressing down. Oh, that feels so good. Into that left thigh. Okay. And while you're holding onto that foot, you can kind of like jiggle the foot around as if it were a doorknob, trying to like, you're trying to twist it. So hold on to the heel or the calcaneus of the foot. And as you're rotating around, kind of feel with your left hand like how that manipulates the muscles underneath of your calf, maybe your thigh, if you feel any of that. Okay, and the further you lean forward, the deeper the stretch is going to feel. So sometimes like when you get into some deeper stretches, it can sometimes take your breath away. So just make sure you're still breathing in through the nose. Oh, out through the mouth. One more time in. And one more time out. When you're ready, you're going to stack the spine up tall. Your left leg goes out to the side. Okay, so in that long leg stretch position, you're going to bring the left arm underneath of you on top of the right thigh, right arm up and overhead, and reach over as if you could touch, yeah, good job, towards the left toes. Okay, so now getting into that right side body stretch, and maybe, hopefully, feeling that left back of the leg stretch. Okay. Go ahead and come back up. Bring both arms around and in front towards the, or off to the side towards the left leg. If you feel like you're locking the leg out, just give your left knee a little bit of a bend there. We don't want to hyperextend the leg just to keep the knees healthy here. And then you can kind of slide your hands down the leg and feel that not only the back of the leg on the left side is opening up, but also now you've got your quadratus lumborums on the right side that are opening up as well, okay? QLs for short. Where is that space? Hopefully you feel that between rib and hip on that right side of the body. If you don't quite feel it, try reaching the right arm a little bit more than the left. And that might get that right side to open up a little more. Lift your spine back tall. Good, and then you can either bring the pillow over to the other side or keep your movement going around to where now your right shin, knee are onto the pillow or the block that you've placed off to the side there. Okay, nice job, you guys. So we're back into that pseudo supported lunge position, toenails pressing down, squeeze that right glute. And remember, if you don't quite feel the stretch happening, you can just slide your butt forward towards the edge of your chair. Lift the right arm up, and we've got 3 side bends. So we're opening up through that psoas. All of the hip flexors on the front of the hip, feeling that nice strong engagement. If you still quite don't feel that stretch, try to like scoop that tailbone underneath of us. Remember when we did it at the beginning of the class where your tailbone's trying to tuck underneath? Lift back up with the arm, and then holy cow, that made a big difference for me. I hope it did for you. Woo, inhale, and then one more exhale, coming up and overhead into that strong, long right leg opening on that hip flexor. All right, I'm just going to move the pillow out of the way. We're done with that. If you want to put that off to the side, and go ahead and take your now right ankle up on top of the left thigh. Hold on to the calcaneus. Remember, that's the heel of your right foot with your left hand. And then with your right elbow, just go ahead and sink down into the thigh of your right leg. Okay. So then as you're there, just breathing through the stretch, feeling how that opens up the right back of the hip, kind of rotate and twist that doorknob or your calcaneus or heel of the right foot. Now, even while we're stretching, I should have mentioned this at the very beginning, but even while we're stretching, you want to be mindful of your pelvis. So sometimes like your left hip will want to lift up, okay? Or you sink a lot into the right hip. So try to be aware of like how you're distributing your weight into the pelvis, into the sits bones as you lean forward, or if you're leaning from one side to the next. Just take one more big inhale here. Soften the shoulders down, exhale. And inhale, stack the spine tall. Your right leg goes all the way out to the side. Your right hand comes over towards the left thigh as your left arm comes up and overhead. Try to reach for the right toes. Then inhale, lift. Woo. Remember to give that right leg a slight bend in the knee if you feel like you're hyperextending it. Twist your torso towards that leg and then slide the arms down as you exhale. Release. Okay, so ideally trying to feel that hamstring stretch behind the leg. And then if you don't quite feel that left lower back space opening up, then reach the left arm to the outside ankle of that right foot. Now it's like basically like a complicated twister game at this point. Left hand, right foot. That was our last one. Go ahead and stack the spine up tall. Bring the legs back together. We'll end the same way that we began with a little bit of those hip rocks, using the breath, kind of moving through that spine. Notice a difference, okay? Yeah, we don't have the pillow underneath of us, but we're more aware, we're more mindful of our hips. Tick-tock those hips side to side. Lift one hip up. And then keeping the feet flat, feel the rotation of your hips. So even if your hand, especially if your hands are on your hips, you're going to feel one hand move back, one hand move forward. And then rotate the hips around. Think about you're like stirring up a big pot or you're hula hooping. Ooh, this feels really good. Around and then switch directions. Great job today, guys. Give yourself a round of applause. And just a reminder for the next class that we're going to be doing, that is on August 1st. So that's only 2 weeks away. So if you enjoyed this class, I hope to see you guys again soon. If you have any questions, I'll stop the recording so you can ask your questions. But other than that, it was so great seeing everyone again and moving with you again. I'll see you next time, okay? Bye.